Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Hashtag Work in Progress. I'm your girl, Francine, the Liberian Queen.
And your favorite foodie, Galiza.
Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah.
So last week, or in the last episode, we talked about men's health. And I know that we kind of took a little direction change because we were talking about being motivated. We were talking about the self-assessment, all these different things. But we decided, we're going to spend a little bit of time on the men today. So we had Dr. Mark Holder in the building. And he was talking about how to keep yourself healthy as a man. It was a great conversation. What did you think, Liza?
It was great. It was great.
It was very informative.
We learned so much.
Listen, if you are a man, make sure that you are taking care of your health.
Get checked. Yes.
Get checked. Get screened. Don't wait till you're dying. Okay.
Yes. Live long.
So this time around, I figured this episode we could talk a little bit about men, relationships. I'm thinking about my life, and I'm like, I feel like I have most things down. I feel like
Our parenting
is good. My
job
kid
is good. Bills are paid.
Yes, God.
Jesus is first.
Yes, always. But but there's one thing that we tend to struggle.
It's a work in progress.
It is a work in progress.
It is.
But the good thing is today we have a couple of people here to help us out on
our
men's panel episode of Work in Progress.
So excited. I'm ready to learn.
I'm so excited about this episode. All right. So to get started, we're going to introduce our panel.
All right.
Starting with Derek Francis. Derek Francis is a lead counselor for the city, for Minneapolis Public Schools.
Whoop, whoop.
He's worked at Champlain Park High School. He's worked at Minneapolis North High School. He is a new father of a beautiful baby girl.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show, Derek.
Thanks.
Yeah. Are you ready to get started?
Yeah.
What is your marital status again?
I'm married.
You're
Married.
Yes, he's made it.
Yes,
yeah.
God. How old are you?
I'm 33.
33. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes. Next, we have sports trainer, single father of a 4-year-old, originally from Wyoming, and in search of filling his own cup and not anyone else's, and was heavily dating, not currently, Mr. Jontae. Is it Koonkaew?
Yes, it's Koonkaew.
All right.
Jontae, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on.
31, correct?
Yes.
All right. Was heavily dating. This is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, a while ago, too.
A while ago.
For the record.
Right. Well, what's a while ago?
Right,
for the record.
Like,
For the record,
talking
a while
in
ago.
2017 or like a couple months ago?
Like 2-3 months ago.
Okay, see, that's a while for a man, I guess.
I guess so.
Really interesting. Okay. And finally,
we have entrepreneur.
yes.
Recording artist.
Yes.
His EP will be dropping very, very soon. Mr. Michael DeCole is in the building. Oh my gosh.
How y'all doing?
We're so happy to have you, Mike DeCole.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And how old are you, Mr. Mike DeCole?
Now you're just getting too personal.
Yeah.
You know what? We are getting personal.
All in my
This is a
business,
very
all in my business.
personal.
Okay,
Yes,
all right.
this
So
is
then what is
getting
your
real.
status? What is your...
Actually, I got no problem with saying my age. No, actually, I'll be 42 next week.
right.
Next week or this week?
Aging
All right.
graceful.
Happy birthday.
There is no
Yeah.
claim that.
So, yeah,
yes.
I have a son that just graduated college.
All right.
second year.
Look at that.
Awesome.
And he's simply wonderful,
Simply
y'all.
wonderful.
Make
Watch
sure
out.
you
Be
get
on
that.
the lookout.
So we wanted to get started with a couple of foundational questions regarding relationships. So we know that we have to learn about people, women, probably you guys did somewhere. So we're going to start with you, Derek. What was your first lesson on women and relationships, and who taught you?
Yeah, I'd say first lessons came growing up, my mom and dad, other relatives around what they expected.
And what did they say?
They'd say things like, make sure you treat her well, make sure you guys go to church together.
Amen.
Make sure that, my dad would say, make sure you cook for her. Those are like those kind
Okay,
of
so
traits.
that's okay.
Crazy,
You cook,
yeah.
That's good.
So those are some of the early messagings I received, and just don't yell at her, stuff like that.
Oh.
I'm dead serious. So those are things where I was like, all right. So,
Okay. How about you, Jontae?
I would have to say I learned a lot from the women of my family. So my mom, I grew up with my mom, my sister, and I would say I took a lot of relationship advice from a woman's perspective. And what I learned from my dad was not anywhere close to the line that they were trying to draw for me. So I think I would say I absorbed a lot of stuff from my dad, but I learned a lot of stuff from my mom and my sister, the women of my family.
Okay.
Yeah,
So women helped
good.
to shape your. Okay. How about you, Mike DeCole?
Wow.
First question, already getting into it. Okay.
I know, right?
Wow.
Nah, for me, it was kind of like what they were saying also, probably from my mom. And the important things that I learned was the things that not to do from the men in my family.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I just was actually just watched and paid attention to, what they were doing and what they were doing wrong. And I realized, okay, that's something I don't want to do, So majority of things, it was about seeing my mom happy. So everything that it took to make her happy, I looked at it as like, okay, that's something that I'll take with me in my relationships and what I want to make somebody happy, someday.
So what are your views on women today based off of what you saw growing up? So in reference to your mother, your grandmother, let's say Derek.
So my views of women today,
Yes.
like how I view women, like
Yeah.
how I view women myself.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'd say based on what I'd say it's evolved. I think early on, it wasn't fully fleshed out in my mind about what a woman or a partner would be like. Like it was, I didn't see it how I do now. It's more like,
How did you see them?
yeah.
Right.
So it was like, hey,
Good
like
question.
I wasn't thinking like long term. I was thinking like, oh, like I'm hanging out with them now. We're dating now, and this, like in high school, like if I meet a girl, I'm like, oh, like we're gonna kick it for a season. Like, oh, well, maybe make it a prom or or like during basketball season or for the summer.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean? It's
right.
seasonal. It's
Yes,
season to
okay.
season, and then. I did that till, like, and that was kind of just how I thought of it. Like, I was like, oh, but then as I got older, the mismatch where I maybe thought it was going to be seasonal and the other person was like, no, I want this longer. Or it was reversed.
Okay.
So that
right.
kind of stuff. Where, I mean, it's grown to where now I'm like, man, like, this is someone I'm committed to long term. Like, I want to be with them. Like, and I miss them. And that's when I was like, okay, that's how I see it. That's what I'm looking for. So sorry if that was long-winded.
That was a good answer. Anybody else want to tackle that question? Jontae?
Yeah.
I guess. That was a great answer to piggyback off of the being involved. That was amazing, actually, because through stages in your life, you obviously view women differently in every aspect. And I think we answered the first question all kind of similar. We learned from family, mostly our moms. And so to then be at the stage in my life where you're trying to look for somebody as supportive and as loving and as caring as your mom,
There you go.
you take all 30 years and you're like, there's no way that back then, 15, 16, 17, during the seasons, I was ever thinking about that person. You know what I'm saying? It was very seasonal. It was very what happens right now type of feel. And so now to be older, now to look for something with substance, it makes sense that we just evolved. We evolved as adults, adult males, and also our beliefs in women and our wants from women have evolved as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So speaking of evolve, right? Social media has a very big role in all of this. So how has that influenced your dating choices or your view of women?
Mike DeCole.
That actually changed a lot. That influenced a lot now because what people put out, it's funny because social media, it's like an act, a stage.
Agreed.
Everybody is on stage and they're portraying one way, and then their other lives is a different way.
Selectively.
But the sad thing about that part is that what we see on social media, we think that's what you are and who you are. So you really have to be careful on what you put out there. It's just like when you see an actor or actress or whatever act a certain role or whatever, but when they yell cut, in a lot of our minds, we still see that person as that person, whether they did good things, bad things. So, it plays a big role. And it's funny because I always said that the women that I'm looking for isn't on social media. And it was funny because I met two women and it surprised me, like when I went up to talk to her, and you know how now you don't ask for numbers. You say, hey, what's your Facebook number?
Right,
What's
your
your,
Instagram, your right.
Exactly. So I asked her, who is she on Facebook? She was like, oh, I don't do Facebook. I say,
Oh, okay. This is
I'm like, okay, well,
caught your
yeah.
attention.
I'm like, oh yeah. So I'm like,
Great.
what about Instagram? She's like, no, I'm not on social media. I say, really? It was kind of foreign. That's what I said I was looking for, but it was kind of foreign. I'm like, okay, are you nuts? Are you crazy? Because everybody
Right.
has it, but
course.
it intrigued me, and I actually got into a relationship because of just that answer alone.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, it plays a big role, today. Social media being in relationships and things like that. And I guess just the people and what we put on there, like social media breaks up and makes, relationships today. That's the sad thing as well, but I ain't going to go way into it, but yeah.
We'll circle back to that one.
Yeah.
Right.
So, all right. So we talked a little bit about the foundational aspects of a relationship, but let's talk about the approach.
Yeah.
All right. So you may be at the club. You may be at the grocery store. You may
Aisle
be
5.
at the gym. What you say, aisle 5?
High five. High five.
You might be at the gym, lifting.
Elliptical or something. Yeah.
Well, wherever you're at, you turn to the right and you see her. What's going through your mind, and how do you determine, like, I'm going in the hunt?
Yeah. Like what you're attracted
What
to,
are you-
right?
yes.
Is it the approach of
The
okay.
approach.
Yes.
How do you determine, all right, that's it.
Should we ask the married man or should we
let's
ask
start with Jontae first.
Okay, let's do
What's
that.
your
Let's do that.
approach? You see her.
What? Everybody in here is shaking their head yes. Okay, so one, I have to see her in my atmosphere, right? Because if I see her there's beautiful women all over the place. If I see her in a different atmosphere, I'm not going to say a word.
You said my atmosphere?
My atmosphere.
What is
something
your
I'm comfortable.
atmosphere?
Something I'm
Okay.
comfortable doing.
Okay.
Because then I won't. Not even on her. I will not say a word to her.
Gotcha.
But in my atmosphere, grocery shopping, gym, somewhere
Sure.
like that.
Coffee shop.
I
Okay.
coffee shop. Coffee shop.
The library.
The first thing
library.
the first thing I'm going to think of is how am I going to compliment her?
Oh.
And then what is her reaction going to be? Those are the first two things I'm going to think about. And when I do compliment her, then it's all reaction, right? Then I
Right.
have to feed off of her energy. Because sometimes you can give somebody a
Yeah.
wonderful compliment, something that you thought really
Yeah.
deeply in your soul, and then all of a sudden they're like,
Was going to
"Yeah,
touch
thanks."
her. And she was like not interested.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, listen, you have the iciest blue eyes I've ever seen in my life. Like, I just want to let you
Did
know
y'all
that.
hear this?
And
Icy.
then,
Just iciest.
blue
and
eyes.
then, and then she says, "Yeah, I know," and you're like, "Oh, all right, all right. Well, next one." But like it has after me personally, after I compliment, I definitely just move on to reaction.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Mike, what do you do?
It actually, for me, it depends on, I'm in a place now where I go off of vibe and energy. And sometimes it's like eye contact, it's, because me, I'm not the type of guy to go and approach a lot of women or whatever, because I don't know. It seems kind of
Is it because you're
cliche.
in the industry, though?
Oh.
Probably
Like, does
that
that have
too.
anything- 'cause Mike DeCole is a musician, y'all,
very much
so-
so.
Okay.
Yeah, very much so. And I've had a lot of women approach me, especially after I perform or whatever.
Yeah.
And that does nothing for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know,
I'm your
because
number one fan.
yeah.
You're like, I already have some actually, but okay, right.
Yeah, but when it comes down to it, actually, I just go off of, honestly, I just go off of vibe and feeling, because I can see a beautiful woman that's very intriguing or whatever. And then, I'll, like he was saying, like me, I've never been the type of person that say, have lines or anything like that. Me, I'm a genuine person. It's more like, hey, how you doing or whatever. It's very upfront and personal and no games. So everybody already, in my eyes, in my mind, women already, when you start walking to her, she, in her head, she's already like, oh, what he finna really say? What type of game is he finna run?
Yep, that's exactly
So
what we say.
my thing is, I'm honestly the total opposite. I just speak to you, how you doing or whatever, small conversation.
Sure.
And I feed off of that. And then, if she's intrigued, her eyes tell it, her body language tell it, and I just go off of the vibe and energy off of that.
Which is
that's just me.
interesting because that was one of the questions kind of we were piggybacking off, right? About being approached. Like,
Being approached, yes.
so you are the one that would rather be approached as opposed to, and not that it has to be one way or the other, but
No,
because
it
of
kind of it kind
Okay.
of plays in between. It changes. it changes, no matter the situation, the place, the time, or whatever. But I wouldn't say all the time I want to be approached now, because sometimes I like to, go up and say, and it's funny because I'm so much of a reserved type of person.
Introvert.
And I remember, and I remember this one time I seen a girl, and usually I don't say too much or nothing, but there was something about her that I had to say something.
Okay.
Wow.
Like she intrigued me, that vibe,
That was it.
So and I had to go up. I'm like, you know
Did
what?
you guys see this expression?
I'm trying to visualize
And see,
And
this
we
the-
were like,
all right,
wow,
and
who
this the
is
crazy
this?
thing. Yeah, the crazy thing is I used to do loss prevention. So I was working inside of a grocery store, and I used to chase people who were stealing and things like that. But so this one girl, I met her, and she was walking past, and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta say something to her. So I had walked up to her, and I was like, you know what? I know this may seem like a lie and everything like that, but I'm like, you really caught my attention, and I really like to, get to know you, you know. And I told her my name and everything like that. And
What was her reaction?
I was just going to
she
say
was
because
actually, and you know what? This is probably going to be not so good for me to say,
Oh,
but
Lord.
she was
Say
like,
it.
Do it.
she was
Say
like,
it.
well, no, she was like, my name is such and such, da da da. She's like, but I do have a man, and I'm like, she's like, but I can. She was like, but I can hook you up with my girlfriend. And the man inside me was like, well, I don't want your girlfriend. I
I
want you.
want you. Yeah. Oh, wow.
And like, this is wrong for me to say, but yeah, we end up going out.
I was gonna
Jontae.
say,
Jontae, yeah,
you're
you wanna-
speaking
you
for
wanna
men.
say
He's like,
I
wait
was
a
gonna say
minute.
you're speaking for men. Don't even worry about it. I agree with you. So.
So you know,
But I would be highly upset if some dude did that to my woman or whatever. Didn't
Absolutely.
respect that,
Right.
But yeah, but it was just something about it. I just had to.
just didn't
I had
know.
to, yeah, it was just
which
that
is also
attraction.
interesting to think that, like, I wonder if she knew that and she's also used to that as well.
I'm pretty sure.
You know what I mean? So then
She
it
might
doesn't
be.
captivate her in any kind of way.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you were, and the whole the
But
scenario,
that was like
everything.
15
Yeah.
years ago, and we're still friends to this day.
Really?
Wow, see, so
Okay.
friendship came of it. That's what I was going to ask. Was okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Is it ever okay for a woman to approach a man, Derek? What do you think? In your experience?
He's like, my wife
From the
actually
past.
did. No, I'm
Yeah. In the past. Yeah.
In the past.
And let me be honest.
please do.
Just because someone's married doesn't mean people don't approach them still.
Okay.
If I'm
That's
being really honest with you,
All right.
Like, usually I'll know because of like if just the other day I was at the liquor store. picking up something for my wife. And then the lady just kept saying, she's like, oh, how long you been married? I was like, oh, I told her 5 years. And she was like, oh, okay, like, any kids? I was like, yeah. And then she, still giving me the eyes. I was just like,
You're a basketball player.
yeah, I was just like, what the
Derek
hell are
is
you
how tall
doing? And then she was just like, asking me, oh, is this for your wife? And then she was like, oh, like asking like my age. Then that's why I knew. She was like, oh, like, because she saw my ID. She was like, oh, we're not too close in age, whatever. So,
You still approach is what you're saying.
yeah.
Wow.
Anyways. But
That doesn't
nonetheless,
matter.
it is okay for women to approach a guy. Yeah.
You don't think any differently.
No,
of
not
her.
get
at
thrown off
all.
by that?
Not
And
at
I was
all.
like, is it
It's a beautiful
cool? You guys
thing.
are-
It's great. It's like, you don't think it feels good to us
They
too? Like,
probably didn't
dang.
think that for our parents. My
Okay,
mom,
well, let me tell you
they're
what we were taught. You don't want to. We were taught you don't want to just run up in men's faces, right? You want to see.
True. You have to be
fast.
pursued.
You want to be pursued because that
yeah.
shows you that the man wants you. So knowing that, what do you have to say, Jontae?
Oh, I was gonna wait. I was just moving it.
No.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I mean, to be honest, what I would say is it makes the job a lot easier for us to be
Right,
genuine.
because of the idea that you
To
guys
be
might
because
have.
we're always perceived as that compliment. I see us like, well, okay, yeah, bro, you use that all the time.
Right.
But like, we are really genuine about the stuff we say to women because we understand the game. Right? We're born from it. We're bred from it. Like, we understand the game. So a lot of times when a woman approaches us, it makes it easier for us to be genuine and nice and sensitive and like and feed an emotion and tell you what's going on instead of like, what would you like to drink? Like, no one likes that energy. Like, we would rather ask about your family and stuff like that. But the game has been played so long that it makes it tough for us to do those things.
Let's talk about
And
that.
to add on that, even to what he was saying, is like, for each their own. I don't mind like a woman approaching, but don't approach me like a guy would approach. Like, I have women, I have
aggressive.
aggressive.
That's aggressive.
Oh my God, I got women in my DM. Seriously, like,
Sliding
it's crazy to
in.
me. Oh my God, it's crazy. And they come at me like, and even though I tell them, well, I got this going on, I'm doing this or whatever. Well, how about we just be friends first? I'm like, wait a minute, I used that line before, so don't
Right.
Don't
be
try to
subtle.
play you.
Yeah, just be subtle. It's like show your interest, but still be a woman about it, and that still would turn me on. I don't like aggressiveness because to me that feels like a male trait, and me personally, I don't
thirst?
like anything
Yeah.
for
You
male
call it
traits.
thirst?
They call it the
Yeah,
thirst. Is that what it is?
I don't like
Going
I don't
on.
like men trait in women's. That's just my own personal
Got it.
choice,
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Are men open about their intentions when they first meet a woman? Jontae.
We believe we are.
Be honest. Be honest.
Maybe he approached
Be
them like,
honest. Has it changed?
I don't know.
It has
Or-
changed.
Okay,
it
let's-
has changed.
how has
And
it
I think
changed?
I think personally, so my personal belief is if you practice anything, negative or positive, it will become of you. It will become a habit. So practicing bad habits of being a single man and just going out and doing whatever I wanted to do, buy you a drink because I don't care, even financially, even deeper than just relationships, right? On your pocket, on your car, on your family, on your everything. But when you practice such things to go see a woman and then all of a sudden you're not really thinking or taking care of that woman in the future tense, then you're developing bad habits, and all of a sudden you're not who you want to be as far as like taking care of a
Taking
woman.
care of a woman. Yeah,
But in the
being a man,
beginning, you're usually honest about your intentions.
But in the beginning,
yeah. In the beginning.
I know you
I got away from it because I was like, so in the beginning, I would say this. In the beginning, yes, I do try to be genuine, and I do try to think about a woman and really give her good compliments. But now I think it's better just to be honest.
Yeah.
And sometimes that isn't what you want to hear ever. Like sometimes you don't want to hear that. Like, I think you're gorgeous tonight. Like, you don't want to, like, sometimes you don't want to hear that. But it's like, I can't see this. I'm in a place where I'm not in my atmosphere. So I'm in a place where I don't even think I should be. I'm at a bar past 1 o'clock, and now I'm looking at you like, damn, let's just go home. So
Jontae, no,
I know. Listen, I'm just trying to be honest.
no, we need it. We need it.
I've evolved.
This is
I've
when the
evolved.
popcorn kicks in.
And listen, often I don't give that question. It's just something that runs in my brain. I'll
Wow. Does this even serve? Are we ready to? I don't even know how we can transition into the dating from this.
No, we
that
still
was
have
great. We can do it.
We can do that. Let's do demographics.
Oh, should we do the demographic one?
yes.
That's really good.
This is a good question since we live in Minnesota. Derek, how does race or demographics impact who you have chosen to marry, talk to, whatever the case is?
Yeah. I'd say just the environment has been what's impacted it. Like, for me, like, I've always been open. Like, I'm down to
You've dated other
dated
women,
other
different
races,
races and
women.
stuff. Yeah.
black, white, Asian, Lebanese. Like, I was always open. But I think what I started to realize, if there was patterns, it would be most of the people I went to school with.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of the people in classes were all white. And
Yeah.
so
Okay.
for me, and that's how most people I dated were from school. So, but then, I think, and sometimes I think about, like, if I lived somewhere else, would have been different. Like, that had more
Yeah,
concentration of
preference,
what, but I'm like, it just it is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think we were talking about that with Jontae too, right? About that, you're saying that you'd grown up in the suburbs, you went to a predominantly white school, and so preference-wise, does that like matter to you now that you've been more exposed, now that you've been, different parts of the cities, lived in different parts of town, like?
Well, yeah, I'm definitely open to more women, but I do have everybody has their type. So
Yes,
I would
that's
say,
what we're boiling down to.
So you have a type.
I do have a type.
Okay.
But I mean, I've definitely challenged myself, especially when I was heavily dating, to get out of my
when he was
to get out of my comfort zone. So I have recently, like, I don't want to say anyone. That sounds crazy, but yeah, there's not
equal opportunity employee.
There you go. Thank you
Equal opportunity.
thank you for the alley-oop. Yeah.
I got you. Mike, do you have anything to add to that from a demographic race perspective? Does that
it's
impact
kinda
you date?
what they were talking about, environment. It's kind of like what you were raised around. And me, I was in the inner cities of Chicago, so I was always around, blacks. So it was like, what was funny to me is I didn't see whites until probably till I was like 13 years old. It was only blacks and Mexicans. and it was like a cultural shock when my mom brought us here, you know. So it was uneasy for me, you know. But it was funny because once I had, you know, I dated a white woman, and it was fine and cool. But as far as what I'm attracted to and what, you know, what moves me or whatever, I am, you know, I choose what my body, you know, tells me that. Yeah, it's just to me. Without going into it, it's just something about the flavor that a woman, a certain woman has that attracts me. Again, going off of chemistry and vibes and everything like that. So, you know, but when it comes down to it, it's to each their own. You know, you're attracted to whoever you're attracted to.
Amen.
And when a person sit up there and try to belittle another person who they attracted to, that's crazy.
That's
you know, that don't make sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so moving into the relationship
relationship. You met her. You guys are good.
yeah.
You're starting to
Chemistry's
roll.
there.
Chemistry's there. You're
I
talking.
like you.
You like me. So
Like, when is the relationship official? The silence, y'all. The silence.
Are you guys gonna be
And what we mean by this is how do you
Maybe
communicate it?
depending
Like,
on who
this
I
isn't-
start to introduce to. For me, that's when it gets real. Like,
That's what I was
my guys are
thinking,
coming
right?
out.
See?
Hey, you know what? You should come meet my guys. That's why I'm like, it's
Is
getting.
it so,
when it's
okay, so what are the
For me,
levels?
yeah.
Is it your guys
Wait
and
a
your
minute.
mom, or
Here, hold on.
wait? You've had a Decepticon situation though.
Listen,
Listen. Good answer.
Good answer.
Oh, like
No,
that.
I met mom. I met
yeah.
sisters.
Oh.
I met friends. We were all, and it was
This is
all,
the one.
This it was all
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ask your question.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Please.
It's gonna be personal.
Okay.
Oh,
Had you already had physical relationships with this human before that?
No,
really?
That answered everything.
no.
Wow. But wait.
What, is that part of the
mean-
deception?
Yeah, more.
So
You can't just like.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, so you're saying
I'm
that?
gonna.
You said
I'm
it was
gonna
a
say.
game?
I'm gonna.
It was all
yeah,
part
it
of the
was a
game?
game. Unfortunately, it was a game.
Dang.
It was a game.
Goodness.
If you
I
didn't
mean, look, we're both
if you-
like.
if you didn't have
dang
physical
it.
relation with him,
Nah.
but you were consistent,
Yes.
he had something that he had a question he needed an answer, and he was using. I'm speaking for myself.
Okay, I was like
okay.
disclaimer.
Let me
Go ahead.
let me do that.
Yes.
I'll speak for myself. Of what I think.
This is the man who dates heavily, so he's got
So-
experience,
Yes.
y'all.
I think that he was running game in order to answer a question about your physical
like,
beauty, like your
why?
intimacy, your level of intimacy.
Sure. But at what point, I mean, like, when does she become any more or less important if you're already bringing her around to mom and your
Right.
homeboys and all that?
Dating,
Like,
all that,
and it's
yeah.
not a right or wrong. I'm just saying
We're just
that
curious.
you know, like, is that some next level game or something? I mean,
That
like, 'cause
sounds like
then
next
At what
level
point then are
deception.
you really like serious? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think the practice of what he was doing.
okay.
I think the practice of what he was doing was to show you that he was serious, and the fact that he didn't get. I don't want. I'm gonna.
Is
say
it more
stuff.
so that you
I'm gonna say. I'm gonna give a lot of. I'm gonna give a lot of things away, and I'm not trying to. My bad,
Okay.
fellas. But just to be honest, I'm gonna speak for myself.
Okay, okay.
I think.
Alias name.
I think
No alias.
Miguel was what he was doing.
My homeboy.
So
Right.
I think what he was doing, the practice of what he was doing,
Yeah.
was trying to figure that out.
Okay.
But there was a box left unchecked, and
Okay.
that every time he took a step, he was wondering why.
Okay.
Okay.
I would believe that.
Is there a fear factor too? Because, you know, like they always say men get cold feet once they get. Is that true? Like once you get to a certain stage and all of a sudden you're like, oh, is this a whole life thing now? Like, I mean, Derek.
I know what,
Like, is it like, you know what I mean? Did you go through that?
Yeah. Oh, that was. Yeah. That every step of the way that hit hard. That hit the hardest, just because. Where I mean, even before I proposed, I was just like, man, like, it's about to be really different. This is escalating.
Forever, ever.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just, I think it's just thinking personally, what things am I like feeling like I have to now give up that is almost selfish stuff. That's all
That's
it really
what it
was.
is.
It was
That-
like, what do I
like,
have to give
like
up?
for me, it was like, like going out whenever I want, going out with whoever I want, you know, like that piece and just doing activities for me. That's the reason. That's why I was like, man, like, I'm not gonna be eating fried food as much because my wife doesn't eat
make healthy
that.
choices
I
now.
literally had to think about that.
And having a new addition.
Having
so
a baby too, because I was like, wow, like even going out, I'm like, man, I love going out with my guys, and now I'm like, but then if I'm coming home at 2, I'm gonna be tired to soothe the baby. So
we
those
don't want to say trouble, not trouble, tired. But hey, okay,
yeah.
all right.
So, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it harder to be loyal in relationships because of all the options now?
Oh, that is so
Access
good. That's
to options.
Yeah.
So think about social media, right? Dating sites. Like, I mean, you can, if you want somebody, you can get them. Mike, is it hard?
One
to be
foot in,
option?
one foot out.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would say, I would say it is, harder to be, to decide because there are so many options. There are so many women to men. But for me, again, going back to what I said before, it's like, and me, I think I'm probably the oldest in the room, but for me, if I have that one that I'm really, really connected to, it's not that hard for me. I'm speaking for myself. I can't speak for, other guys. And I'm just at that. Because for me, I've never been like a player, date a bunch of women type of thing. I've always been a relationship type of dude.
Right. That's good to know. That's good to know. I mean, because there's different types of men. Yeah. So you're the one that's more like, if I do this, okay.
Right. So it was kind of easy for me. And then, and this is the funny thing, and this is kind of personal, but my mom used to always she'd tell me and my brother, if y'all are anything like y'all dad, y'all will be in trouble. Oh. Because my father was a womanizer, had a bunch of women. Mm-hmm. It was 10 kids he had, so it's 10 of us all together. Mm-hmm. So for me, again, going back to what we was talking about earlier, I see what not to do through uncles, fathers, and everything like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's why I seen with myself, it was like I wanted a relationship. So it wasn't hard for me to say I want to be in a relationship, or it wasn't tough for me having a lot of options out here, because if I have that one connection with that one, I'm good.
Then you're good.
You're good.
But the problem I ran into is because I'm a singer and I'm a nice looking guy, is the woman that I was with was insecure, so that made it hard. And it's like, I'm like, it has nothing, like when I'm connected to you, I'm connected to you. Whether I'm singing or whatever, because I'm the type of person, like I say, I'm an introvert. After I sing, I'm usually going after my own show. And the people are like, where you go? But that's just me.
You don't
and a lot of big artists that way, introverted, and I be gone. But it's not that hard for me.
Right.
Okay.
I thought maybe you were going to say that because I know I am, this is the quality of a man that I am. Your standard is that much higher. Yeah. So for that reason, it makes it harder for you to, really.
But it is hard for me to be in a relationship. Yeah, it's hard for me to be in a relationship at that point because, my standards are high. And to find that perfect one to be in a relationship, I don't want to say perfect because there is no perfect.
Sure.
But to find, find the one that I'm really connected to, that's a lot. And see, the crazy thing is, I was on an on and off again relationship for like 9 years, and in my head, I thought this person, it was on and off. We didn't date other, people, and always came back. We always had this connection that no matter what, put us in a room for about 5 minutes,
and it sparks are flying. Okay,
but
is that still the case?
The funny thing is, it actually.
I'm like, wait, inquiring minds want to know.
The funny thing is, what's crazy is in my head, I was like, this is gonna be the woman I'm gonna marry. Even every time we broke up. I still thought in my head that this was going to be the woman I was going to marry.
Oh, that's one of those questions you got to ask.
But what I learned is I learned myself, and I knew myself to where I'm at this point now when I'm like, we were perfect in so many ways. Like she was like, my calm, and it wasn't hard to entertain. All these things we can just sit and do nothing and we'd be good. But what I had found out is what she didn't support was my artistic ways. And those are things that, and the crazy thing, and the crazy thing is, I tried to change that for her, at one point because I wanted that relationship.
Sure.
But that need came back even stronger. So my thing is like, if you can't support who I am, like other things is like, okay, if I leave dirty drawers around, socks around, those are little things, little pet peeves. I get that.
Sure. But the core of who you are,
am,
yes, I
I'm
understand.
a creator.
You're an artist.
And if you can't support that, then it's gonna be hard. And it was hard for me to finally, I got that in my head. Finally, I'm like, okay, that's why we can't be together. And it was hard for me to grasp that after all these years.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, now I get it now.
Yeah. We always hear that, though, about artists, how they're like, whoever they're with, whether they don't even have to be artists, but they just have
guys
to,
in general.
believe and support. True.
I feel like I hear that guys in general need support, affirmation. Is that true, guys? Is that true? You guys need like that support, affirmation, either one of you?
Absolutely.
How important
I'm
is
going to
it?
speak for myself, but
Yeah.
that was something I learned from my mom. So when we talk about relationships and some of the qualities that you take from your parents and then you ask that from a wife, you start to think like, what are some of the things that meant so much to me? And I'm going to say I was in an 8-year relationship and I was engaged and we bought a house. We did everything. Had a fence. We had 2-car garages.
Right, we were almost there.
We were down the street. Like we were down the street. But one thing that I want to piggyback off of Mr. Michael here is that it was a connection that I was missing. It was something deeper. It was something realer than just us getting married. Like it was not just a ring. There was no vows that could be said that would make the connection stronger. It was something I needed. And and when I look back and after going through like mental health and therapy and stuff like that, I realized that it was words of affirmation that I never got. I was always searching from this.
As for women, now that I think about it, and I don't know because I know your mom is very much driven and the man in the household. I mean, she runs things. So, but
she's a driver.
She is the driver. But I didn't have that. Like, my mom didn't have to affirm my stepdad. I'm sorry. So my father was not. I mean, they're separated. He's in the Philippines somewhere. But my stepfather was more of a honeydew, like, honeydew for me, like I need this. And he would just be like, yes, mom, everything was honeydew. And he just did. But I've never heard her be like, she calls him daddy. Oh, thank you, daddy. Like, I hear it a little bit more now, but I didn't realize how important that was. It didn't come natural to me. It's something as simple as taking out the trash. So I'm doing that now for my boys, my young men. Like, whenever they do something, thanks for taking out the trash, thanks for doing the dishes, so that they, know that that's also important in relationships.
I'm going to pose this question, especially because it was so heavily a part of my last relationship. Is it something that moms don't do to women?
Yeah.
Ooh.
They do it to boys. You see it a lot. Mama's boy is a thing. Like it was before.
Yeah, that's true.
But,
it's very true.
But you don't see women giving other women words of affirmation often, and you also don't see it. No, I'm not gonna say it. I don't hear it.
Say it.
Well, I don't want to say it because it's like not technically right.
Sure.
But I don't hear moms say it to daughters as often either.
Yeah.
That's the sad thing,
that is
and I had a conversation about that too. Is like a lot of times women raise their sons. They don't look at it like, okay, I'm raising you for the woman that you're gonna have someday. I'm raising you like,
for the man
the thing
that you
is
need
like,
to be as a man.
you gotta think about it like this. If you wasn't my child and you were older, what I'm putting into you, would I date you? You have to look at that, how you raising that son. And that's why it's like they have this love and they misstep a lot when it comes to raising their boys, because you don't look at it like, okay, I need to raise you to be able to be a provider and all these things, a man for another woman.
Got it.
Yeah. And so.
And just like you said, also dads don't raise their sons to be affectionate, be emotional, be like, what am I?
Vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
Yes.
Vulnerable. We don't. I mean, tough it up, rub some dirt on it. Those are terms that we hear growing up.
But I think
you got to be strong. You'll be
cultural?
tough.
Yes.
I think we're
I
gonna
think
go
it
back
is
to the
the
culture.
culture.
That's what I had realized too. That was the reason why they're supposed to be two parents, because y'all it's supposed to even out. The mom's supposed to be
the
a little nurture,
Mm-hmm.
and the father's supposed to be a little stern. So and then it kind of messed up when a lot of dads wasn't home, so moms was playing both roles, and that kind of hurt it because, okay, for instance, like with my mom, and she said this all the time, us being in Chicago, and it's tough and it's a rough environment. So she chose to be very hard on us versus nurturing.
To thrive in an
because if we're in the
environment,
street,
as
she
men,
want to know that we can take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
But see, now the sad part is now me and my brother are older. She's looking for us to hug and nurture her, but we don't know how.
Wow.
Because she didn't instill that. She was always tough. My mom used to punch us in the chest, or all these different things.
I've had those
She didn't
moments.
kiss and hug. Like the funny thing is, like even now, if it's hard for us to say I love you, she know it, but it's hard for us to say I love you. And when we say
Cultural.
it, we bust up laughing.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
But do you think that maybe they're just showing what they were shown too? Like it's possible. When I think about like how my parents came up too, like there wasn't a lot of I love yous. It was go to school. You go to, you know, I'm
I take care of home.
Go to school.
Cook.
You cook and clean, and that's it. It wasn't I love you. There wasn't, you know what I mean? Like I show you that I love you because I paid the bills.
And what
I show
teach
you that I love
you.
you. Yes,
life skills.
You have clothes on your back, you have food, and they didn't necessarily get that as well. So I think we're just kind of like passing down the same things that we're taught, and it's probably up to us then to kind of break that tide or to change things around with the kids that we're raising now moving forward.
Wow, that was great. Well, I mean, kind of going into that now that when we talk about things culturally and where we're at now as people who are in search for it's not about that anymore, right? Like it's just about finding a life partner or finding the right one for you. There's not as much of that barrier between us. Would you say that men are intimidated by women they view as successful in terms of a woman who makes more money, woman who has the degrees or, you know, the accolades or whatever the case is? Is there still a role of intimidation?
I think so. I mean, being honest, and I'm again, you know, I can't speak for every man, but the reason I think so is because if you're a man that grew up that you were supposed to be the provider, you know, this was instilled to us. You're supposed to be the provider. It was always instilled that you're the hunter. You go and you kill. You know, you bring home the bacon. You do all these things. And then with a lot of men, the male ego is very fragile, regardless, you know, how you look at it or not. So it is hard and it takes adjustment. But the crazy thing is like everything is turning around. Everything is backwards. So it's just like women had to adapt a certain way. Now it's like men have to adapt to the fact that women are more, you know, getting more of the jobs, independent, all these different things.
Have more of a voice,
you know.
right?
But the good thing is like one of the things that I really dislike was a woman that sit up and say, well, I'm a proud woman. I'm a proud black this. Or I'm a proud that. Like, for me, you don't have to say, like, if you see, I see you, you're black. Why do you have to tell me you're black? If I see your strength, I see your strength. Why do you, like, to me, that's an insecurity. That's an insecurity. And it's like, I need to show you that I'm strong. I need to show you that. So I'm going to continue to say it. But if you're a person that does it and don't have to say it, I love a woman that don't have to say it. You know, because it's like, because that woman still knows how. She knows how to be play both sides. She knows how to be both sides. She don't have to go and, you know, and preach it to the world. Okay. It's like I see that. You know.
I have a scenario.
I was just gonna say, I'm like, friend.
I have a couple of scenarios.
Some on your chest.
Okay.
No.
So, and this had nothing to do with like the relationship itself. It was more in the approach. So, last year we were at a wedding. You were at the wedding too, Derek, actually. Yeah. And it was a huge wedding. Everybody was dressed to the nines, and we were sitting in the back, and there was this nice looking dude. He was, you know, funny, and we had a good rapport going on or whatever. And so I think about that often as I work. And so he was asking me like, oh, so what do you do? And at first I was very hesitant. I didn't want to say what I did. So then I was like, all right, well, I just kind of explained high level. And he kept asking because he wanted to just find out more about me and stuff. So finally I said, okay, this is my title. This is what I do. And then I also do X, Y, and Z on the side. And after I said what I did, he was like, oh, well, I'm just a soldier. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, you know, and I was like, that's great. Thank you for your service and all that stuff. But then after that, he was kind of like, it kind of changed the dynamics of the conversation. So that's why it's like, are men like intimidated by women if they have a title, if they do, you know, if they're successful in their role, or is it just like, you know, I just don't want to talk anymore?
I think that's something that says more about him. Yeah, okay. I'm just because I'm visualizing the type of, you know, I've met guys like that where that's, you know, I think some guys, it takes away from their role of being the man. They feel like, oh, you're because some guys want to have that value of like, oh, I'm the breadwinner, or I'm this and that, and they don't want. I just think about the guy, like you should be like, man, that's a good teammate right there. So that's how I think about it.
Okay, all right. Do you have anything to add?
Personally, I just feel like it's funny that we know that we have a woman, you are a woman, and then because of your title, which everybody hates titles.
That's why I didn't want to say it.
Everybody hates titles, but because of your title, now I feel emasculated or I'm masculine, sorry, or like I feel insecure. It's crazy to think that. That's all. I just want to put that out there because as a man, right, you're supposed to stand on your own 2 feet, and at the end of the day, that woman is whoever she is when she's with you, right? It doesn't matter that she could be a CEO or that woman is your woman, and you're supposed to treat her as such. So like to think that a title could make somebody feel not themselves it's different. That's weird.
Okay. So do you guys approach or view successful women in the same way as other women? And does it change the way that you treat them? So if you go out on dates or if you pay for dates or, you know, whatever the case may be, do you treat them the same way as you would any other woman? Mike.
I mean, I typically still treat, you know, the same or whatever. And again, you know, it's just how I was raised and how, you know, and how we're raised is not, you know, nobody's fault or anything. But so for me, it's like if you're successful, you know, successful and you make so much money or whatever, you know, still in me, I'm still that guy. I still feel like I need to open that door. I still need to take the check unless we agreed upon something different, you know. Excuse me. I'm still that guy that, you know, that have to walk on the outside and you walk on the inside. That's just me, you know. Good. So it's just, you know, that part just won't change for me.
Jontae, is it okay for a man to ask a woman to borrow money?
Are there levels to this, though?
Levels,
like how long you have to have been talking? Like
how long have we been married?
How much?
No, I'm talking
married.
About,
No, how long have we been married? That was when it's
that was the answer right there, friend.
At the end of the day, I don't know how long.
Okay.
How well do I know your bank account to ask you for such a thing? How I need to know you. I need to know you dearly. I mean, if it's tough to ask your mom for money, you should not be asking a girl. Period. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Okay.
Anyone else have anything to add to that?
I mean, $20 versus $200 is, you know,
girl.
if it's like.
If you ain't got $20, you ain't got $200.
Amen. Thank you. We just wanted to make sure.
So like, there's no dollar amount, right? If you ain't got it, you ain't got it.
Right.
Right. Okay. So if we switch the roles here, just in the conversations we've been having, what are some misconceptions that we have of men?
Or that you hear.
Or that you hear?
Mm-hmm. Like all men cheat or something.
Like right. They all like IG models.
I think for me personally right now, I think one of the stereotypes that I'm fighting is that I only want one thing from you. I only want one thing. I build a lot of relationships, or like friendships, not relationships, friendships. Mm-hmm. I live with a female. I have one of my best girlfriends is a female, like, and we chat about everything. And I think a common misconception is when I'm saying hi, introducing myself, just speaking to you organically and as myself, that I want something from you. And I think it's tough because even if I do find you attractive and I'm still trying to build rapport, I'm still trying to get to know you, that doesn't change. You could be an alien. I don't care. I'm still going to try to understand you and know you as a person, as a being in front of me. So it's like that. I think that is a common misconception of when guys are introducing or talking or meeting women.
Sure.
Any others?
I'd say just how emotional we really are, and even when we may never tell you, because there'll be times where, I mean,
good answer. Guys on the panel, just so y'all know, clapping on the sidelines.
Just don't underestimate, because there'll be times where you might think like, oh, like we have those real vulnerable emotions. Yeah, it's there. But man, it takes so long to tap into that.
How does it manifest itself then? Because sometimes we don't really know. Like we think you have emotions, but you don't ever really show it. So how do you show your emotions, your vulnerable side?
Yeah, that's the thing you gotta realize is it's gonna look different for each person.
Okay.
You know, for someone like me, if I'm asking for help, that's me showing vulnerability.
Okay.
Like that's my number one thing. Because then if you know me, you know how I really am, where I'm like, oh, I become type A when it becomes time to like manage things or make sure things are going right.
Okay.
And I like that control, but if I were opening up to you, then it's hey, I need help. That's my language of like, but sometimes, you know, you gotta allow me to feel like I can trust you to put it out there. That's the tough part.
Okay, guys, open up a little bit here. It's like,
I like that.
we can't read
That's
your
definitely a
mind.
good one.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just going back to that. It's like men were always taught, again, is that we shouldn't show. Be a man. That's the whole thing. Boys don't cry. All that's wrong, because the thing is, like, God gave people emotions. So how are you not supposed to use it? So why you should not cry, why you should not feel a certain way, that don't even make sense. You got those emotions and those feelings for a reason, So, yeah, I mean, what he touched on was, like, really, really good, and this is something that I realized too, is that kind of like what he said, if I come to you and say, I need help or something, I'm being very vulnerable, because that's hard for me to do, So, and what used to irritate me is I was vulnerable with somebody and told them this, and then later on she came back and used that against me. So then I bottled it up, and next thing you know, the next woman not getting to fool me no more. Because, and I noticed that in a lot of relationships, like, women words, they can cut, and when they get mad, they can cut, they both, but, so it's like, but, again, it's just like that situation. A lot of times, like, when boys first get their heart, that's why a lot of them, when boys first get their heart broken, it's a long time. That's why they start playing the field. Like, women usually can get back into a relationship sooner than a man can. Again, but with a guy, that hurts so bad that we'll play the field every time. If we start feeling like we feeling something, or we going the other way, because we think, I don't want to feel that.
Co-signing over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, that's what it looks like.
Looks like some co-signing,
he's exactly right. I learned that from my therapist. It's called emotional practicing. Women have more opportunity to practice their emotions. Men don't. With our partners, with our boys, like, we don't. And the only time we really get to do it is, like, with the son, somebody that already looks up to us for that connection.
Oh,
so if they're not already
That's
looking
good.
for us, a female, a child, if they're not looking for us for that emotional connection, we don't get practice. But think about the two venues that we get to use, the two people, our son, our child, we get to be whatever emotion we want. For a woman, we have to pick and choose our emotions. And we don't have enough practice to use those. So to piggyback off what they said, one of my things is when I get loud, it's not what I'm saying, it's how I'm saying it. No, it's not how I'm saying it, it's what I'm saying. But I'm so loud, and I'm trying to be a man and still explain emotions that it gets
articulating it just comes
it gets
off.
blurred.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I've lost a lot of fights because almost every one, actually. I'm still single.
He's a work in progress as well.
You're
working at it.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
That's very interesting. I'm learning a lot.
I am too. So what was it called? Emotional what?
Practice.
Emotional
Emotional
practice.
practice.
That's going to be my recap, okay? So
Okay,
if
we'll
I
put
learned
that in notes.
anything.
But, that's the crazy thing, too, is, like, when you think about that, and I know you guys probably heard this before, but girls, when you're growing up, you're set to excel because, okay, your toys that you get for, Christmas and all those things as a little kid, you get the little brooms, you get the cooking sets, you get all these different
Barbie
things
and Ken
it's teaching you how to be, girls always wanted to play teacher and all these things. Boys wanted to play video games and everything. Our toys that we played was Tonka trucks and hitting things or whatever.
I played
So
trucks.
it wasn't instilled in us as much as it is, as you guys. You guys was being bred to be caretakers. And us, it was like totally the opposite. We lived in La La Land and video game land until we realized that, okay, a woman wants something different, and we're mature enough to accept that and start, moving that way,
That's really interesting.
Ooh.
So,
Right.
all right,
That one?
we're gonna switch it up a little bit because
Yeah.
we have questions about this.
We
have
as
questions.
women.
Women, we want to know. So we hear that men are visual, right? We consistently hear
As the expression on Derek's face, just so y'all know.
men
Carry
are
on.
they're
I'm a
visual
person.
creatures,
Yeah.
right?
I might have said that.
And we always hear that women are supposed to take care of
themselves,
themselves
yeah.
in order for a man to be attracted to her,
Okay.
stay attracted
Whether
to her.
married or
in
dating.
a relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
So, in your opinion, your expert opinions,
What
does
does that
take
mean?
care of yourself mean?
Lips, hips, and fingertips.
He was waiting. He was waiting for that.
I was waiting for that one to come out. Couldn't hold that one in.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, besides
So-
that, what does that mean? Is it the way that she dresses? Is it wearing certain things? Is it going to the gym? Is it like what does
eating healthy, doing that? Yeah.
What does that mean in your opinion? Who wants to take it?
I'm going to be honest. Lips, tips, and fingertips was a thing. It is a thing, and that's physical. That's materialistic. But now when I say it, it means like I know that you have time to take care of yourself as a being, not just because you do your nails. It's because you have time to do your nails, right? It's not because you just went out. It's because I can see it at Target that your nails are done. I'll give you an example. I met a woman who said, this is just something that is of me. Like, this is a part of me. That means more to me as far as taking care of yourself than you being like, I just got these done because my birthday is this weekend. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
gotcha. So maintaining
lifestyle,
care, whatever it is,
and then lips, all that stuff. It's just like it's something that I feel like.
Explain it.
Well, I'm going through all of them. Lips, fingertips. But I think
where's this going? Nails,
asterisk. Just put it at a footnote. Okay. It just shows that you are willing to take care of yourself, and I don't have to fill your cup. That's for me. That's what it means.
Okay.
Filling your cup.
Does anybody else want to answer that question?
Well, my thing is, like, a lot of times what's crazy to me is I've met women that say, oh, I want a man who's in shape and, and have abs or have these things, but yet you don't go to the gym or look. So it's like, why do you want something that you don't think that man wants either? For me, it's about, okay, going back to the beginning, it's like women used to always say, why you don't do the same things you did when I first met you?
And then
you're doing the opposite or whatever. And for me, and like I said, to every man is different on what you're attracted to.
Okay.
But for me, keeping yourself up, like I'm not into a woman with makeup. That's crazy. I honestly do not care for lipstick. To me, it's look like a clown, know. And for the women listening to this, I'm not, I don't want to point you out or whatever. I'm just saying my personal preference. Whatever you need to make you feel beautiful, that's you. Okay. I'm just saying my personal preference. It's like, to me, you're more beautiful, almost natural, So it's like, if you have lip gloss on, if you have like French tips, like I don't like red, all the colors and all that stuff there.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, all the pointy nails and that's too much or whatever. So it's like, okay, when you go and jump in the shower, if all that stuff falls off, then what did I, sign up for?
It's like Decepticon.
And the crazy thing is, like, a lot of women think, a lot of women think that men want, all the fake nails and the fake. A lot of that stuff is for you.
Okay.
If that makes you feel beautiful, that's for you.
Right.
But if I tell you that, okay, I'm not into, all that or whatever. Like, I dig a woman who's got her college sweater on and some sweats and the hair in a ponytail, lip gloss. That's sexy as ever to me.
Okay.
That's sexy to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so it's not the looks, but does it count then? Like, I guess I'm trying to read part of what you might be saying. So like, does maintenance have to be more so like, hey, she's constantly learning, or she has her hobbies, she doesn't stop hanging out with her friends, or like trying to be up under him. Like,
right.
It doesn't have to be. We're not boxing it to
just looks.
I mean,
right.
And it sounds like, if we can all agree here that we got to do this together. That's what accountability is for.
Right.
That's what partnership is for. So I just wonder, like, from longevity, what is it that a man, and I think, so can we agree then that you just want a woman that does have something for herself or anyone?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Some type of drive, I think, even if it's
that's
just desire to go see places or learn about new cultures or just work aspirations, like, oh, I want to do this next. Like, maintaining that is even more important. Or even like my wife now, reading books about being an awesome mom, or reading about just little suggestions, and she's blowing through books, and I haven't read a single book. I'm just
winging it.
I am. I'm just like, but just
in
see
your
that.
field,
Right. But I'm
think,
just like, wow, you have some drive. I like
so
that kind of
cool.
stuff. So, yeah.
That's so cool.
It's interesting to know that it's as simple. It's just keeping it simple for them, and it's not necessarily like because we do. But when you think about it, a lot of the fashion and stuff that's out there, women do it for each other and not so much for men. If you
That's
really
true.
think about the type of stuff that
I
we
agree.
think is
That's
hot,
true.
like guys don't even understand it. Like if you get your eyebrows done, they have no idea that your
Right. I
eyebrows
got
are
it
done.
threaded, actually.
Like, they have
and
no
they're
idea
like,
what that means.
But they care if they compliment it. You know they care
Yeah.
if they acknowledge
Okay.
it.
Yeah, very
We
true.
need
know
that
they
too.
care.
We
Good
need
answer.
that
Good
too.
answer.
You know they
Okay,
care.
that's great. Thank you for putting that out there.
Okay. So when the idea of settling down comes to mind, what are your non-negotiables?
Non-negotiables.
And how do you weigh those factors? What keeps you from settling down? Let's put all
Keeps
this
you
together.
or
What keeps you from?
keeps you from?
Excuse me.
There you go. Yeah.
What keeps you from settling down?
No,
Right.
why would she?
Who?
For me, non-negotiables. One of the going to church. That was a non-negotiable.
Okay.
Faith.
Yeah, that was
Faith-driven, okay.
Yep, that was. And we had a crossroads where she was just like I went to Bethel and it screwed me up, yeah, it's a unique place. So
About the college?
yeah,
Oh,
very
okay.
conservative, extremely. And so for her, she was like, and like when we started dating, I was like, well, yeah, we gotta have that. So I'd say church. I'd say location has to be agreed on.
Like moving, like where you
Like
settle.
Same
if we do,
place.
Okay, gotcha.
or live in the Twin Cities even.
Got it. Okay.
Like, cause I was like, well, I don't want someone who's gonna move on me, you know, like, so that kind of stuff where I start to think about, and even this might sound crazy, but even like food restrictions. That's serious.
Okay.
I'm dead serious.
You're like,
What do you mean?
Wait,
by food
as in
restrictions? Like,
what you got to eat and what
This
she got to eat.
personal, huh?
like food restrictions on you?
No, like just making sure, like it'd be hard for me to date someone who didn't eat meat.
Oh, I get what you're saying, right? Like if she was a hardcore vegan.
Yeah, like if
or
they were
didn't
like,
eat
oh,
meat
like
or
you're
didn't
eating
eat-
that
I
chicken,
gotcha.
and like, oh, that's how do you eat something on a bone? That kind of stuff.
And you're like, I like chicken.
I'm dead serious.
Part of being equally yoked.
Yeah, I hear
Yeah.
you. No, that's true though.
Okay.
Because I
Yeah.
thought about that. This whole trend of like being a vegan
dead
or
serious.
vegetarian,
Yeah.
and I'm
Going
like,
meatless.
And some
we love
people go
chicken
so
adobo,
long being
so
like, okay,
I-
I'll just tolerate it. Oh, I'll just tolerate
Yeah.
it. But then if you're at that point where you're like, man, this is for real, like,
Honey,
then you
give 'em
like,
some- cook some
I
chicken.
believe
Yeah.
in compromise. I go
Yeah.
a week without, eating
week?
meat or something. Oh, okay, friend.
I'm
Okay.
just saying. Okay.
I would
anybody else?
compromise.
Right. Anybody else?
So-
What's
Yeah, I
keeping
think that
you?
was right there what y'all guys just said, being able to compromise. Being able to compromise. And one of the things that really irritated me is like communication. And what I mean about that is like, for me, I can hear you all the time say that, well, I don't like when you do this, I don't like when you do that. Like, I can listen to you and you can see me trying. But then if I say the same thing for you and you can't, understand that,
Reciprocate it.
reciprocate, or it's like I'm attacking you now. It's like, wait a minute, you just said the same thing to me last week and I'm just telling you what I like and what I don't like, and now it's attacking you type of thing. So it's like one of the things that I always understood, a lot of situations I got into when I got into either an argument with a woman, like I feel like you would know if you can be with a person after argument.
Oh,
How you guys
Okay.
come back together,
Okay.
because I know I used to be a type of person that I shut down, and
Yeah.
I'll to the point where she's still reaching for me, but you shut me off. So then when I finally came back, then you were shut off or whatever.
I'm the same way. I can agree with that. Okay.
So I think honestly, let's get that out the way. Let's just on our first date, let's just argue. not that into it, but
Productively, let's have a productive
but
argument.
no, but I feel like honestly, when it really comes down to that part, because one of the things that irritated me is like when people listen with the intent to answer. So it's like you're listening, but like when we get into it, but you're not listening, you're not taking in what I'm saying.
Right.
To
You just I'm
understand.
ready to get my side out.
Yeah.
So you're not
Got it.
listening. So sometimes you got to be quiet and listen to what that person said, that made you feel.
Right.
But in arguments, it's so hard for us to do that because we're already trying to win the
already hard
argument,
for
and
you.
so you're not
be
listening. So
vulnerable.
it's just going back and forth, and that's why people have therapy. And you need somebody on the outside to see what you're doing wrong, because when you're in it, you can't see yourself a lot of times. But I know I'm good for just sitting there and listen to you and say, okay, I understand, I get it. But then I don't get that back the other way, because when we're arguing, she's already ready to attack. Well, I'm gonna listen, but I want to say, and I'm like, well, you're not listening. You're not listening. You're ready to discuss and argue.
And
sorry, I
also
see
how
you
you
finna
fight
say
too. I
something.
mean, what you say when you're arguing. I think it's important that you brought that up. So it's not just you're sticking to what it is that you're upset about, and you're not attacking or like making fun of or trying to really hurt that person.
Right.
That'll also tell you about the person that you have too. If you're just sticking to what you're mad at, then I think that's good. But when you start saying, well, then you look like this and your mama ain't this and all, you know what I mean? Like,
that's very immature.
Like
that's
right.
that's when you know
Absolutely.
you're immature and you don't realize like it took me a long time to realize that in my relationship, I'm not in high school no more. I don't run off every time it's a bad situation, every time something don't go right or whatever, that you work it out, because I didn't have too many responsibilities growing up, so that's how I reacted. And it was me getting older. I'm like, okay, I have to try to work this out or whatever. I can't just say, you know what, you didn't cook my chicken the way I like it is over.
Right.
You know, it's just
Compromising.
maturity and growing up and
Yeah.
realizing.
Communication, good.
So why don't we move on then to the breakup?
Yeah.
We tried to work it out.
Wow,
Listen,
we've gone through the checklist.
We did it.
We find Jontae says this is my exit. I mean,
He's gonna break up with y'all right now.
right. Let's go
All
there.
right, so we're going to the breakup. How do you handle a breakup?
How do you end it?
How do you end it? How do you say,
Right?
you know what, it's over?
Because Mike had a 9-year on and off, right? You had a 7-year, 5-year, however long, right? With
Yeah,
an
it was-
engagement included. and
yeah.
then-
So I was dating someone for 8 years, engaged for a year and a half, and I think I did mine a little differently. I didn't just call it a day. We went on a couples retreat. We went to Florida together. We did a lot of things during our breakup that usually don't happen. We spent time together in the house. We spent time together going to a therapist for 2 months, a couple there. Like we did.
You tried.
And I
That was the
and
proper
okay.
way to doing it.
and to be honest, that was what I wanted. That was my human. That was my person. It was what I wanted. But at the end of the day, when you can just tell that you're not growing, neither is that person. Like it sucks to say, but you just kind of got to let that person go. And like, fortunately for me, I have a connection with this human through my son, so I can
True.
see her growth now.
Yeah.
But I can tell that she's grown more without me, and this is
Wow.
this lets me know, and it hurts, but it lets me know that I was doing her a disservice. I wasn't
Wow.
I wasn't letting her be her 100, and so I know, me knowing that now, I can say like, there's somebody else out there for me that I'm gonna
Yeah.
help. I'm gonna help, or I'm gonna be with, and we're gonna be 100. Like that just wasn't my human.
Wow.
What's
Well,
your?
maybe
do
what
guys
you
have
did taught her that made her grow.
That's
Yeah.
that's what I like to think.
Yeah, I mean that's
No, no, I do.
Can't,
No, I'm
it
just
can't be
kidding.
that she
I
could
do believe
realize
that.
what she did wrong.
I do believe that. I mean, she was a stay-at-home mom, so I would come home after working a long day and then taking on your son, and then you would want to see what this person's growth was throughout a day, right? So I'd ask her questions. What do you want? What would you like from life? What would make you a happy person if you made it? Like as far as money, financially, what kind of house would you like? Questions that like end all be all
Probing
questions.
into the future?
And, so,
yeah.
and when those questions aren't getting answered, that's because you don't see those with me.
Ooh.
Ooh,
That is deep.
It has to be.
Okay.
Dang.
Because
okay.
if I can answer those questions and I see those things with you, I
Yeah.
see you being in my house, in my bed, being my wife,
Right.
I put a ring on. I never wear jewelry. I put a ring on. And you can't answer those questions to me, it's not me. It wasn't me.
Interesting.
Okay,
So
Dr.
that's
Phil?
good though. That makes
Right. That was
that doesn't
good.
sound like a bad breakup. That's a
No.
mature breakup where it allows two people room to grow and understanding that it doesn't mean that she's a bad person or
Right.
that you are, whatever. Two wonderful individuals can still not be meant for each other, but it's just the preventative aspect of, dang, how can we cut it so it's not 7 years, so it's not 5, so it's not 9, so it's not 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do want to say with an asterisk is that it was not all clear cut as it was, right? All of us are human. I got emotional. I said some stuff that wasn't as appropriate as I wanted it to be. But at the end of the day, I can look back and say that it was a healthy breakup.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love the fact that you guys actually tried, because I was in a very similar situation where I went through 2 bouts of therapy to try to make it work, couples therapy, conversations and all that, and at the end of the day, we just weren't good for each other. But it takes grown-ups to actually go through that process and figure it out that way.
Especially when kids are involved and stuff
Absolutely.
too. So
Absolutely.
And I think it's good because you got people on the flip side who are like me, who I've always felt when I was dating more of the dependent on that person, where I was like, oh shoot, no, I would never come to that realization you guys had, because I'd always be like, well, this is my person, like we'll work it out, whatever the case, like I want to work out with this person. So even if I wasn't growing or they weren't, I'd stay stuck in that like
right.
mode of
That's
Dang,
what
like,
kept
that's
me.
so
That's
true
what kept me
because
there
you-
on and off again for 9 years.
yeah.
Wow.
Because I'd be like, well, I can't cut it off. Well, we gotta figure. Even I would never. My blinders would be so far up where I would even know like this isn't the situation for me. It's not working. I'd be so stuck. So y'all
So
saying
it would
that,
take for somebody to break up with you.
yeah. Oh yeah. I
And
need
be like,
that.
look, Derek. Yeah.
But then it'll hit me
trying to
hard
make it
because I'll be like, but you were my all that.
Right.
But then it
There's
takes me
nothing I
maybe
wouldn't have
years
done.
after to be
Okay.
like, dang, that was the best thing that ever happened.
Happened to you.
But I would
Yeah.
never do it on my own. I'd be the last to do the breaking up. I'd be like, oh, like, well, let's keep figuring this out. So
Yeah. That's interesting. That's a good perspective.
That's a really
So
good perspective.
you don't typically hear that. I mean, just to put it out there. I mean, men don't. But that's great.
So to wrap things up, I have one last question to ask. Each of you, I'd like you to each answer this question.
Yeah, I'm single.
Are you?
Oh, that was it. All right, my fault.
Besides
Premature.
the fact that Jontae is single,
Right.
and I really want to think about your past. Think about the women that have been you've had relationships with, makeups, breakups, whatever the case was. When you think about the women you've hurt in the past, or the women that have hurt you, where are you now, and what have you learned from it? And if
Gems. Let's hear it.
each one of you could just take a pass at that question. Let's start with
Dang.
Michael.
Mike DeCole.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to need you to repeat that again.
The question is, if you think about the women you have hurt in the past, or the women that have hurt you, what have you learned from it?
Honestly, what I've learned is that you really truly need to know who you are as an individual. Like, you can't go into a relationship not knowing, because then a person is either going to try to make you to what they want you to be, you know, and if you don't know who you are, you're always kind of going to be lost. You're going to be uncertain of who you are. And then a woman don't want a person that don't know who they are or uncertain, because how you going to be the man in a relationship or these things if you're uncertain with things? So with me, it took me some time to realize that I had to find out truly who I am. I had to find out what makes me tick, what makes me, act a certain way, just finally really got down to it. I just had to know who I am before I go getting into a relationship, and I can sit up there and say to her, okay, this is me. I know who I am or whatever. Then if I know who I am, then I know that, okay, who you are, we don't match. If you don't know who you are, you're going to get in any kind of relationship until you figure it out. But now you know who you are. It's like, okay, I know
rule
that.
out
Yeah,
what needs
yeah,
to-
yeah.
okay,
I know
checklist.
that that's not.
Got it.
That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. I know that's gonna, break us up or whatever. So it's like now it's made it kind of hard now, because now I meet a bunch of women and right off I'm already like, yep, nope, not you. Nope, keep moving. Not you.
Yeah.
But before I was like probably going and dating a person and dating this person. I don't even hardly go out on dates because I already know how this person, is like, nah, it's not going to even work.
Okay. So know yourself.
Know
Okay.
Know yourself,
Know
big
thyself.
time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
big time.
Jontae.
I think when you have to say about getting into a relationship, I would say that, and it actually works with what Mike said, is that it is for sure both people have to be 100-100. I can't. Most times you hear people say relationships are 50-50. No, they
It's
have
100, 100.
they have to be 100-100.
Exactly.
There you go.
They have to be.
Yeah.
And excuse me. Again, to piggyback off what he said, it's like nowadays when I get into a relationship, like maybe even just a compliment alone, I can tell what kind of energy you have about yourself and where this might go. And like, to be honest, it could be just a tonight thing or it could be a forever thing. Like, but it really depends on what you're doing to, I use this all the time, to fill your own cup. It really depends on what you're doing.
Fill your own cup.
Yeah, it really depends on what you're doing from that, and I can feed off that, and you can see that I'm doing the same for myself. But at the end of the day, what I've learned is like we both have to bring something to the table. I cannot rely on you to be my crutch. I cannot rely on you to be my emotional practice.
true.
I cannot rely on you to be a step parent. I have to make sure that when I come 100.
With a full
Right.
cup.
Wow.
Okay.
I just know I'm writing a song now because that one line you
that,
said,
there
a
it
tonight
is.
thing
Oh
or
my
forever thing,
goodness.
that's going in the
That's a
song.
great-
That's going in the song.
Royalties.
Derek, why don't you bring us home? So the question is, when you think about the women in your past who you have hurt or who have hurt you, what have you learned?
Learned.
Yeah, I'd say be vulnerable. Just legitimately just be vulnerable more, because I think it's always came down to myself not being fully honest or vulnerable about things that I needed to grow in or that I was feeling.
Good.
And then I'd say, or else if in the other person, there was things where I was like, man, I wish I had known that. I wish they had been vulnerable with me around that. And so I'd say that's a key piece. It's just the sermon for my wife and I, where we got married, one of the parts the pastor says, "Get naked," and he doesn't mean like get naked. He laughs in the sermon. He's like, but it means just being okay, putting your vulnerabilities out there, your insecurities. So
show your scars and
yourself.
share your feelings. Okay.
Yeah, and it can be hard, and it doesn't. I mean, even now being married, there's still stuff I'm working on being vulnerable on. So just giving yourself some grace too. So there you go.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Well, we would definitely love to thank you guys, our panel,
Thank
for
you
being
so
here
much.
with us today.
Yes.
We learned a lot.
Well, just cut the check. Oh, sorry.
So
We'll talk about that.
support system.
Wing
Getting all these gems.
We'll talk
Wing
about
it.
that later.
Yeah.
But we definitely want to thank you guys for joining us this evening. We learned a lot about you
appreciate
guys and about men
about
in general.
men.
A lot
And
of
relationships.
relationships.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff to think about. Because damn.
Yeah, and I mean, it's nice because we don't feel like we're lacking or anything, and we're learning.
We're
just
learning
learned.
a lot.
I mean, yeah.
So
And that we have more in common
we do have more in common.
than we don't. So it's not as complicating as I thought. It's more of just being the reciprocative aspect of the relationship.
And I also think I learned that we all just need to be vulnerable, and it's something that we all need to work on, because I'm not good at that at all. Like, I don't know if you are, but it's
I don't know. I mean, I'm emotional, but I don't know if I'm like, I think I feel, but I have different, I don't know. It's communication. It's
Right.
just, I'm not good at communication.
This is a
That's
lesson.
an area I'm definitely going to work on better.
Okay.
I'm going to work on better communicating.
Right order.
Yes.
But
Yes.
we're gonna do it. We appreciate
Work
you
in
guys sharing your
progress.
opinions.
Yes.
We'll definitely have you back on at some point in time. But thank you so much for sharing your time with us, and thank you everyone for listening to another episode of #Work
Work in progress.